Alrighty everybody, welcome back to Culz Book Reviews. Today we are checking out When the Footsteps Stop, a paranormal memoir by Paul R. Ost and Alexander J. Kirkland. Now this one I actually found thanks to an ad, I believe on Instagram, and I say that because I ended up following the co-author Alexander on Instagram, so I'm pretty sure it was on Instagram that I saw the ad, but I just checked it out, saw a little bit about what it was, paranormal stuff, and we always enjoy helping support independent authors, and especially when they're from our home state of Colorado, so always exciting. Some of the stories here do take place in Colorado, others take place in Kansas City, or at least in that area, and I have a little bit of experience out that way since me and Brendan did spend a little bit of time out that way just doing some filming, and it definitely made me want to get back. But before we get too far into my thoughts on the actual book, let's take a look at the cover. So this is one of two different types of covers you're going to find. This one obviously being a paperback version. There is the hardcover that looks a little bit different, but I ended up getting the paperback just because I wanted to get it as soon as possible and get it reviewed for you guys so you guys could check it out. And so up top you're going to see a picture of a house, and then kind of like it's spliced between, or like the pages are torn, it says When the Footsteps Stop, and then in red a paranormal memoir, and a picture down here, lower portion of a face of who I always thought was Paul. So if it's wrong, I'm sorry, but that's what I thought. And of course we get the author's names there. On the side we see When the Footsteps Stop, and then the authors, and then we get the publication company. And then on the back, just a little bit about the book, and then a little bit more where you can find information regarding the authors, and then there's that ISBN if you need it. So the actual book concludes at 308 pages with the epilogue, though there are acknowledgments that carry the book to 311 total pages. Alright, so what are my thoughts on the book? We'll start with the writing style, which I think is very easy to get into. I haven't read Alexander's other books. He does have a couple others, and I think after this I'll definitely be checking them out, especially the one on the cherry cricket, because we plan on doing a Best Burgers episode there that's been on the books for a little bit. So I'm sure once that episode is in the works, I'll pick that one up and kind of tie both of them in at the same time. But yeah, it's easy to read, it's fun, it always made me want to come back to it. Yeah, some of the stuff going on in the story isn't fun. I won't say all the experiences shared in the story are good experiences. Some are obviously very sad and tragic, but it's given to the readers in a very digestible way, and it never feels like a slog. I always was looking forward to reading it and picking it back up, especially after some of the stories where I actually reached out to family, because yeah, some of the stories I was like, no way, I've never heard anyone else ever say a personal experience that seems so similar. So very, very fascinating there. We'll get into that story real quick. And here Paul talks about an experience where all that could be seen was a hand. And that right away triggered something in me, probably one of the most profound moments I've ever had reading a book. Mainly because we have a family story growing up in a house where my originally saw the black veil, which you can catch that full story above. But in that house, it was reported that someone saw a ghostly hand, and just the hand. I remember my was like, yeah, it was just the hand that they saw. So it was really fascinating to me to hear someone else have a very similar experience. Yeah, and to me that was just really, I don't know, quite profound. That was probably the craziest moment I've had reading a book, just because, like I said, I've never heard anyone say they've had that same experience. And I actually ended up messaging my Yaya, telling her about this story from in here, and just being like, yeah, it reminds me totally of that one. Granted, that one took place in Indiana. The one in the book takes place in Kansas City. Very different locations, probably not the same spirit, but just to have two similar experiences was super, super cool. Something else that comes up later is an experience at the Stanley, which really turned out to be more or less not too much of an experience. And it was really interesting just hearing kind of the similar feelings, like, oh, people telling you, like, you got to go see the Stanley, you got to go see the Stanley. and then getting up there and being like, it's kind of a disappointment. Because I've had that. I know lots of people are like, you gotta check it out, it's super cool. I'm like, we've been up there, we've done a little investigation. Super cool though, history-wise. Like, go up there, it's beautiful in Estes Park. The architecture looks really cool. Go at least take the history tour. But we didn't capture anything on any of our equipment. We didn't film nothing. And in here, Paul really said the experience is very minimal, if anything. So I was excited to see someone else share in my experience, because most of the time people are like, yeah, the Stanley, so haunted. Again, super cool, go visit it, but just super cool to have that. Again, another relatable story. And some of these, I think if you've had paranormal experiences, you can relate to. I mean, there's footsteps coming up and down stairs, which I'm sure people have had outside of us. Doors opening and closing. We've had some crazy stuff like that. So I think this can be very relatable to people in the paranormal world, and I think that's where it's really going to excel. And also, it shares some experiences that I don't have. Like, I can't see like spirits or anything like that. Like, have we seen some weird stuff? Yeah, but I'm not like in here where Paul talks about like being actually able to see a lot of spirits and communicate. I can't do that. So super cool to just see that side of the story. Again, it's unique. You don't hear it from everybody, and sometimes when you hear it, you're like, that doesn't seem real. But in here, very sincere. Everything sounds sincere. So I really enjoyed it. Like I said at the beginning, it is not always super happy. There is a good chunk of the book that talks about a lot of loss, and a lot of loss of friends that were lost young, or some family members that were lost young. He talks about his brother who was lost in a car accident, and then of course a lot of his friends that unfortunately lost their lives during the AIDS epidemic, which that history happened a little bit before any of us were born, and so it's a little bit different now, and it is just always good to hear perspectives from people that actually lived during the time, and you can actually start to understand the fear. And so that was something that I think was added. It is a very personal story because it just goes through the author's life as well. To pick up a book that you don't know the person, it's not like it was written by like a celebrity or actor or someone that you really kind of get, but not maybe their personal side. Just to pick it up and read somebody's like personal story that you don't really know, and it actually connect to you and be good and just like make you want to read more. I think that in itself says it does its job. It's written well, it's entertaining, it's enthralling, it captures everything. I think it's really good. I would say, kind of my early base reading, I would say an 8 out of 10. Very, very solid read. And as I was reading it, I was like, this probably would go in my top 10 paranormal books, just because you guys know I am super hard on paranormal books. I try, it's not like I set out to be, but like, I guess once you live some of the experiences that we have and you're in the field, you get a little bit more critical than picking up something like, say, in the music industry or something like that, where you don't have that connection, so you can read it a little bit more open-minded. You don't like, oh, this would be wrong, this would be wrong. So yeah, for me, at some point I'll do my top 10 paranormal books, and I think this one would make it. So I think that says everything. I am hoping to set up an interview with both of the authors here, because I think the stories are super fascinating. That's why I didn't go into too many, because I do want you guys to experience it when you read it. I think it's really good. But yeah, just stay tuned. I'm sure we'll have that. One thing I forgot to mention, there are pictures in here. Let me show you. So as you go, obviously, lots of words, but yeah, you'll see different things, and there's some stuff from Gettysburg, which is cool, a location we haven't been to. But yeah, every once in a while you will get pictures of either locations or maybe some experiences, or even some of the people that, Paul is talking about throughout the story. And again, it's just super cool to find an independent author writing about paranormal stuff, and it actually clicks. So I do recommend it. Like I said, 8 out of 10 for now. Maybe it goes up once I start looking at my top 10. But I enjoyed it, and I usually don't enjoy a lot of paranormal books, so I think that says it from me. If you guys are interested, though, for more Culz Book Reviews, click that link to your left. For more about us here at Culz Paranormal, click that link to your right. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And let us know, have you read any of Alexander's other books? And have you had a recent paranormal experience? Tell us in the comments below.